Hey there everybody, and welcome back to the Sakuya portion of Kuon. Last time, as you may recall, we found ourselves on a mountain path, following behind Sakuya's brother, and, well, what appeared to be Utsuki and her sister Kuria. For some reason, though, it has been left up to us to follow behind, covering the rear, and that means it always seems like we're one step behind the trio in front of us. Or they mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind what looks to be a mummified corpse. I think it might be best to try to catch up with the group ahead of us and, well, safety in numbers and all that. But we find a little shrine here, and inside we get the map for the area. I'm gonna go ahead and take a quick look at that and see that the area is actually not that large. We don't have many options of places to go, but we already saw someone head over to the right. Here is where we get our first introduction to the jumping mechanic. Much like the crouching mechanic, it's very situational, and we'll probably only have to use it one other time in the game. But it appears that we've fallen into some type of trap. We're being chased after what appears to be, well, Utsuki's sister, but possessed by some type of demon. Thankfully, she is only really dangerous if you give her a chance to get close to you. She does do quite a bit of damage if she grabs you, but well, she does suffer quite a bit of knockback from our spells. It also can be fairly dangerous if you do get caught up in the Tempest and, well, being attacked by two enemies at once. But this does give us a good opportunity to show off, well, this summons can be semi-useful if you use it in tandem. Not to say that it doesn't give off a very creepy air, but at least it served some purpose. But whatever this was, well, it's clearly thrown us off the path of following Doryu and Utsuki and, well, what we can assume to be the real Kuria. The question is, which way did they go? Outside of this ice spear, we have a blocked off path here, so it looks like we're going to have to double back and figure out some other way up the mountain. But on our way back, we run into a very unique enemy known as a Mashita, and we're just gonna run. because they're more dangerous than they seem.
Sakuya! The sick people have blocked the path. This is the only way up, right? What should we do? Look, the stake is loose. If you walk south a bit, you'll find a hut. There should be a mallet there. Find it. All right, I'll go there. You may encounter a beast along the way. Be careful.
So it's now up to us to find a mallet to figure out a way up to Utsuki. But upon being warned about some horrible beast of the mountain,
Banish demons.
and after seeing the Mashita we just fought, we can only assume that there's going to be more danger ahead.
And all evil spirits.
It seems that something is waiting for us in this hut. Until we pick up these spell cards, which is quite a bit of Habiri, we can look through the window and see what's waiting for us inside. It appears to be some gigantic Mashita. We actually have to wait for it to head outside before we head inside the hut, because if we go inside too quickly, it will instantly kill us. So by going in, we're able to find the mallet that was mentioned, along with some high-end cards, and also some more of the Karyu fire cards. You do want to be careful in there because you definitely don't want to get that thing's attention, even though it seems to be an inevitability.
Banish demons and all evil spirits.
And say hello to the Yeti, a much larger and much more dangerous version of the Mashita we already fought. The Yeti is obviously very fast, very large, and has an incredible range. We're also stuck in a very, very small arena, and that makes this fight incredibly difficult. This Yeti can actually lower our health to almost the critical in just a single swipe. Also, I do apologize. I tried recording this quite a few times, and for some reason or another, I always ran into quite a bit of slowdown. Needless to say, this fight is very difficult, and the reason why you do want to be stockpiling up on healing items. It can take quite a bit of damage before it goes down, and obviously deals quite a bit of damage before it goes down. thankfully, after burning through pretty much all of our ice spears and about 12 high-end cards, we are finally able to take that monkey down. You may also recall some of the notes we saw earlier scrawled in blood in the mansion mentioning monkeys on a mountain path. We can now see what those were pretty much alluding to.
That should do it. Well, this time I'll be more careful. I believe Korea and the others have gone ahead. Let's go. We need to hurry.
That is true, but that seemed like a very odd statement for Utsuki to make as we climbed our way up.
The worms resting in the cocoon. What could they be thinking? I think I must be dreaming. I must be dreaming a long, long dream. Dorio.
Oh, Sakuya. What took you so long?
The path was blocked by the hungry ones.
Ah, well at least you're okay. Look! One has followed you here! Damn those demons! Sakuya! I'm going to stay here. I'll leave everything to you.
Please, take me with you. Never mind. I'd just be in your way. Please, be careful.
While I do appreciate the fact that everyone seems to be here and doing relatively okay, I can't help shake the feeling that Utsuki's behavior just seems kind of odd. But into the shrine proper, we immediately run into what could almost be assumed to be that Gaki we saw before. And it isn't a special Gaki or anything like that, it goes down easily enough. But I have a feeling that we should probably investigate more before we report back about the Gaki we have taken down.
Spirits.
Especially since this is supposed to be the place where Utsuki and Korea lived, maybe we'll get a little bit more information about them both. But as as we enter the main shrine hall, we find the map to the shrine itself. As we take a quick look at it, we'll see that there is a silkworm shrine and a couple of other buildings nearby. We'll have a chance to investigate all of those, but it might be good to take a quick look around this room, as there seems to be a rather large center structure here, but it's currently sealed off and we're unable to get inside. Yet again, we can incorporate the jumping mechanic to reach down on this lower path. And actually, I'm just going to ignore this clothed gaki. It'd probably be more trouble than it's worth. But inside this chamber, we find a rather large bloody cocoon, kind of like the ones we saw earlier in the temple, but this one still seems to be occupied. We also see one of Dokai's documents regarding his investigation of the different occult areas of this mansion and area. This one involves the gaki and how they can, well, they have a large amount of endurance, but they can be relatively easily taken down, which we have figured out on our own. But in this adjacent room, we see where he might have come to that realization, due to the fact that there seemed to be a rather bloody fight with the gaki in this very room. So we find the next volume of Dokai's work. This one involves the wicker chests that we have been finding throughout the mansion and the nearby areas. Apparently, well, things are able to crawl into the chests, and these evil creatures are somehow feeding on the victims and gaining some type of mysterious power from them. Possibly used for some resurrection magic. But our pathway back is now blocked by this gaki. We find ourselves in Utsuki's room. There are a number of interesting documents in here. Also, we find the Sugaruku board, which unlocks a special additional game if you collect the pieces in both the yin and yang phases. You can also play the game from the main menu. We'll be showing that off in a bonus video. Needless to say, it's basically Japanese backgammon. But we find the final volume of Dokai's work, going on about the special, almost supernatural properties of the silk made from the silkworms on the property. We also find Utsuki's diary, gives us a bit of insight into her, well, very lonely, childlike mindset. And she appears to be kind of worried about Korea's state of well-being. Apparently Korea had something of a disease that caused her a reasonably large amount of pain that caused her sister nothing but worry. But her sister was also Utsuki was very preoccupied with just normal childlike things such as having fun, watching flowers, and reading poetry. Sadly though, she was still very worried about her sister and, well, was always very unhappy with the fact she could never really do anything for Korea. Out in this yard area, we find a rather odd hole in the wall. And by going inside, well, we get what appears to be another room for Utsuki. This one, though, shares a very different aesthetic. Blood-soaked with negative feelings, almost causing a tempest around us. Gives off a very different feel. Also, I did want to make a correction. That spell card we just got is actually the more powerful fire spell. Essentially the last one we'll be getting. Here we find Korea's diary. Mentions some horrible accident with falling off a cliff, and well, apparently it affected Utsuki fairly horribly. Well, not to say that it didn't affect Korea badly, as her body seemed to rot away and she became covered in marks and just constant pain. But she ran into two twins who informed her that if she, well, could cocoon herself up, that everything would gradually fix itself. And after Korea told her father this, she was told about the resurrection and the weird black magic that went around with the cocoons. Also, she seemed to think that Utsuki was the one that caused her death. Whether or not that's true or just a delusion, it's a bit hard to say. All we have to go off is a diary. Before we follow whatever was through that door, I figured we might as well cover whatever else was waiting for us in this very large yard area. Inside, we find a storage area with a few nice items to pick up. You can also hear what it sounds to be shuffling. Yep, it is two Yamabita, which we will leave to their feeding. Also find a rather short scroll regarding the creation of the shrine. Apparently, it was built around two mulberry trees. As to why they decided to worship the silkworms or the mulberry trees is a bit hard to say. Needless to say, there obviously seems to be some concrete magic behind it. We also find a sealed door, which it's only for Utsuki. It's only available to be opened in her playthrough. Also, at the end of this path, we find another sealed door that, as of yet, we will be unable to open. So, I'm just going to skip back to, well, what I can only assume to be Korea's room.
Korea, what are you doing? You're my only sister. Now you'll understand how it feels. Korea, stop it! Korea, what are you doing? Stop this! Korea! Utsuki. You killed me that day! You pushed me!
Were we just audience to some other hallucination? Was that actually Doryo and Utsuki dead? Something horribly wrong with Korea? So many questions left unanswered. About the best we can do is try to rush to Doryo as quickly as possible.
Banish demons and all evil spirits.
Solve the silkworm puzzle. I have revealed the puzzle. The mystery of the war. But I became obsessed. Lost myself in the books. And because of that, I was killed here. If you didn't have silkworms, you could have been killed.
Sad.
The merging of you and I would greatly enhance the spell. There's a great empathy when one merges with another.
And we are set upon by yet another boss battle with our previous companion, Dokai. Apparently he was overwhelmed by the mysteries and consumed by it. He can be a fairly dangerous character to take down. He can actually summon out tempests at will, and he does have access to his priestly magic. Thankfully, it's a situation where you can fight fire with fire, and rather easily take him down by using some of your more powerful spell cards.
Spirits.
And after taking Dokai down, we do get another bloodstained cloth, the Seal of Mars, which will not only unlock the sealed up door leading out of the temple, but also the sealed door leading to the inner chamber of the temple itself. Waiting inside the inner chamber, we do have our final weapon upgrade. This is our strongest melee weapon, not that we will be getting too much use out of it. Also, there is, well, a wooden handle resting on the wall. We don't actually have a use for this yet, but we will be getting use for it fairly soon. We also get the first rather cryptic words from Domon himself. He apparently knew something about the silkworm and its resurrection powers, and apparently he knew that they must feed on human flesh to have their dark magic work. Honestly, he seemed rather twisted by the magic, and his words seemed to have a almost very selfish end. We also see here his reaction after learning that Kuria had met the Silkworm twins, that he was actually fairly happy with her transformation, and somehow, her being the daughter of the head priest, she has now become invulnerable to any kind of weaponry. It's definitely something we're going to have to keep in mind for later, because I get the feeling that Korea isn't just going to be a problem that's going to disappear. For now, though, it's still a very good idea to figure out what's happening in Doryo.
Demons and all.
What's this?
And it seems as if we have interrupted Korea trying to consume Doryo in the wicker chest. But there is a way to avoid this boss battle, as we definitely do not need a third one. By running away, you will notice that the music has stopped, and by going back around, we find that they've seemingly disappeared. We can also investigate the wicker chest to get the Seal of Uranus. So by reinvestigating the chest, we see that we can actually hide inside of it. As to what purpose this serves might not be immediately evident. So for right now, we'll just hop back out of the chest. And be assaulted again by the Doryo and Korea combination. Thankfully, by hiding in the chest yet again, we are able to evade the boss fight entirely as the duo circles around the chest and then proceeds to walk off, never to be seen again. Now it is a completely viable option to try and fight them.
Spirits.
They don't really do anything special, they just cause a bunch of tempest after tempest, but really if you're given an option to skip over a difficult and tedious fight, you may as well take that opportunity. For right now though, we're going to use our new cloth and skip back to the door we saw previously. This new area of the shrine, we see a little path off to the side, and this is actually where we're going to get a use out of that wooden handle we found before. By stopping the flow of water, we can now descend this nearby rope ladder. And in the small closed off area, we can find a small pool with what appears to be a object reflecting in the water. And after picking up the rather mysterious mirror, it summons out to Mizuhuki, but they are easily enough avoided. It seems that Korea is back yet again, but we will just avoid her as she is probably immune to our attacks.
Banish demons and all evil spirits.
Instead, we're going to head back to where we fought the Doryo and Korea combination.
Silkworms on the mulberry leaves. The tree harbors silkworms, reviving the dead and causing illness. Does this mean that no more sacrifices will be born again?
And after burning the mulberry tree, we find ourselves on a cliff face. Almost the cliff face where we should have found Utsuki's body, but instead are greeted by just a sick trail of blood. But we find yet a note from the servant boy for Lady Fujiwara. This one mentions that the elder priest managed to put a mirror on a plinth that opened the cave. This would have given us a hint as to where the mirror was beforehand, but, well, we have the mirror now, and that means the puzzle is solved. And what is waiting for us inside the cave? Well, we're gonna have to find that out next time on the final portion of Sakuya's portion for Kuon.